Hello there, Melinda Joy, Crossroads Storyteller here with my very first VR. I've been on YouTube for about a month now, but this will be my first toe dip into the more specific community of TarotTube. So I'm excited to have this opportunity that Janaki and Bathsheba with at Catomancy put together for us. The first question is, what kind of religious upbringing did you have? So I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, which is a quote-unquote new religion. It is of the Protestant variety and began in the 1800s in the United States, but is now a world religion. So when I clarify that I grew up in Loma Linda, which is a hub of Seventh-day Adventists, Loma Linda, California, I do that just to clarify what unique Adventist culture I grew up in, for those who know the nuances. And if you don't know stress, there's no need to understand the difference between the different kinds of Seventh-day Adventists. But as it relates to this video, Seventh-day Adventists, I don't believe have ever been in approval of playing cards or tarot cards or any kind of cards. I mean, greeting cards are allowed. But yeah, Seventh-day Adventists, to give a little bit more context, they started off pretty radical and pretty the front lines of social development, and were rubbing shoulders with people like suffragists and abolitionists and spiritualists. But then in the 1900s, when there was a push after World War II to conform, Seventh-day Adventism got caught up in that, and now is much closer to what sort of mainstream Protestant Christianity looks like in the United States. Okay. What was your first exposure to tarot, and how did you get your first deck? So I think, I'm not positive, but I think the very first time tarot was referenced in my space was at the movie theater. I think Lindsay Lohan was involved, but I don't really remember much else except that it was like spooky and scary, and there's like lightning when the reading happened. It was like all sorts of dramatic. And then I think probably near the beginning of 2013, I remember walking into a Chinese restaurant in LA, and there was an advertisement for tarot readings, and the imagery was the Rider Waite Smith imagery. And I just remember just like getting all sorts of sparkly and lit up, and knowing that I wanted to engage with that. But at the time, I was a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, which I'll reference again later. And so that did not feel like an option. However, at the end of 2013, I attended my very first pagan, witchy celebration ritual event. And it was a Samhain ritual in Upland, California, also Southern California. And someone who has become very important to me, Joan D. Artemis, was the person who pulled my very first tarot card. And my very first tarot card ever pulled was the Strength card. And then I got my own decks after that. encounter getting my first card pulled. And Joan had encouraged me to explore the tarot world and pick the deck that most resonated with me. And so at the time, even though it was like out of my budget and I had to like pinch pennies to make it happen, I got the Tarot of the Crone by Ellen Lorenzi Prince. I got all the names, just not in the right order. And then like at the same time, I was anxious that I needed to know like the traditional meanings too. So I got 2 mini decks. One, the Rider Wyatt Smith deck, and one, the Toth deck. And yeah, I'll talk more about them as we go. So those were my first 3 decks. I don't actually remember, maybe these came into my life first, but I really got to know all of them together. So, when did tarot become a more important part of your practice? And when, if ever, did you stop being a skeptic? What was your moment of tarot conversion like? So, right away, I was into oracle decks. I had a hard time initially getting acquainted with just the tarot system. It just took me a moment to understand what I was looking at. And so in the meantime, I really enjoyed oracle decks. And this one, the Goddess Oracle, was a really big one for me in my life. And I would call this like my first divination conversion. I was stressing out because I was going to an academic conference and an individual was going to be there who had been abusive towards me. And so I was all sorts of nervous. And what I did was I pulled a card and I followed through with the ritual that the booklet gave me. I think the card was Lilith. No surprise there. And I used that ritual throughout the whole conference. And it was so incredibly helpful just for making me feel like I could stay in my body. Like that was a safe place to be. So that I think would probably be my first like conversion story. But then in 2017, I had my Saturn return, or the beginning of my Saturn return. I think at the end of 2017 it was. And during my Saturn return, I super diligently and dedicatedly pulled 3 cards from this deck every single morning and wrote them down and then reflected on them at the end of the day. And getting to know this deck that way, I would call my second conversion, because things started just clicking into place. I started understanding how to like glean my own meanings as opposed to the meaning of the card. Also, the book for this deck is amazing. I absolutely relished all of it. So yes, I think that probably like 2 to 3 year experience of pulling 3 cards every day was transformative in getting to know the tarot, but also myself. And I think because I so thoroughly got to know myself, that was my second conversion story. And then my sort of last but not least story is that in 2021, at the very beginning, I took Naha's tarot class. It's a 9-week course and it's through 22 teachings. And that class, in addition to the other work I do with 22 teachings, was amazing. It just sort of broke open my broke open the tarot to me, and it became so much more available and accessible and exciting, and I could see how it was connected to all of the other things I care about. And yes, I'm still relishing in that conversion experience. And yeah, I would say since then, tarot has been my primary tool for self-discovery, and I absolutely love it. Number 4, when did you start reading for others or start to read for clients, and why? Or if you have not ever thought, if you have you ever thought about it? Okay, so this is question 4. Yes, I basically started reading for people right away. I don't recommend that, but of course I didn't like charge people right away. More like what it was a friend would come over to hang out with me at the university where I was studying, in my tiny little apartment, and we would do something fun, and then we'd come back to my apartment and read some cards. And so we definitely always used the book, and it was more of a discussion between us, like the two of us trying to sort it out on behalf of my friend or the client. And yeah, like I said, I did not get paid for this. It was just like for fun and to get to know the deck and see how it could support others around me. Because yeah, especially initially, like when I was talking about the oracle decks and when I was getting a lot out of my oracle decks, and when I was sort of confused about what the tarot had to say, especially during that time of my life, it was really fun to explore the tarot with friends, because they would always have insight that I didn't have, and that was really helpful. Okay, but once again, was not like charging them. So then maybe in like 2016, so it's like 3-ish years later, I think I started receiving gifts for my tarot readings. And at that point, I was doing a lot less book reading and would just reference a book if I was mostly using this card or this deck at that time. And I would reference the book if I just like hadn't seen that card yet or something like that. But once again, it was mostly like gifts and tips I was receiving, more so like compensation for my time than the actual reading. And then in 2020, I started more seriously looking for tarot clients and having an asking price. So that's been my due since then. I do read tarot for others, and I have a cost. So I think that counts as like officially reading for clients. Okay. What are some of your qualities from your background that make you a good reader? That is, what do you bring to the table as a reader, and what do you think your tarot superpower is? I love this question. Okay, so I think what is most unique about my background is that I began in an extremely different place, culturally, politically, socially, personally, than I am now. And because of that, I have an understanding of the landscape of transformation that not everyone has, because I have personally done the navigating. Yes, so as an example, to re-reference my pastoral experience, near the end of my time as a participant in the Seventh-day Adventist community, I still, to some degree, identify as a Seventh-day Adventist, but more so what Seventh-day Adventist stood for in the 1800s, and what that would look like today, than what current Seventh-day Adventists promote and stand for. If you have questions about that, we can answer them on our own time. But yes, okay, so when I was still an active participant in the community and employed as a pastor, I did a lot of pastoral care. A lot of people came to me for guidance or to share their struggles or to just to bring their curiosities to me because they were looking for more resources to take their curiosity to like a more thorough discovery kind of place. But yes, all of that to say, I not only know how to tend to other people who don't hold my beliefs, but I also know what it's like to have beliefs that are significantly more conservative and constraining and limiting and judgmental is a word that's coming to mind. I know what it's like to live in a body that is governed by those values. And I think my superpower is that I have found compassion for my past selves and self-acceptance for myself in every phase of transition I've gone through. And so because of that, I can gift that self-compassion to my clients. Like, my clients don't have to show up to me with their shit together or feel like they're coming to get fixed or like I don't think or let's turn it into the positive. I think I create room for other people to not only be who they are, but also who they are becoming, because I have had to do that for myself. Okay. Yes, I think I finished all of the pieces to that question. Last question. When did you get into TarotTube? What is your relationship with tarot and social media? Okay, so I showed up on YouTube in May of 2022. Got all of those twos in there. And before that, I had been on Instagram for roughly a year. Definitely fine-tuning my process and my message. I used to make videos before 2021, and I just wouldn't post them because I felt like there was something wrong with them. I was in a perfectionistic trap, and so this last year I've really practiced. I've taken Instagram as an opportunity to practice imperfection, and that has really just like I actually post things, right? So it's working. And in 2021, about a year ago, I also attended Decolonization for Dreamers by Hood Hippie Universe, and I'll link that below so you don't have to keep track of those words. And that program was incredibly transformative. It gave me tools to reframe the colonialist chaos that is our Western society, and it gave me some it gave me the permission is not quite the right word, but it gave me the nudge to prioritize my unique, authentic shine as the gift I have to give to the world, to support us in our larger chaotic issues. I'm talking like world government level problems, right? So yes, I am here on YouTube to support others to do their version of that. I would like to use all of my social media resources to honor other people's authentic self. Because I think if we are all living our most authentic selves, our most natural, naturally cyclical selves, it is my opinion that us doing that is the most efficient way to address our global, societal, cultural problems. All of them, you know, the racism, the sexism, the disabledism, ableism, all of the things. So yes, that concludes this VR. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. So many blessings, and I look forward to some more VRs in my future.